Ladies and gentlemen, it's yet another episode of Bafafa Kenya podcast. It's about 5 p.m. in the evening here in Nairobi, and anytime from now, I'll be talking about an area, a field that I recently exploited and I believe I'm doing well in. I know most of the time if you see me, you see visual artistry, photography, camera work, but today I want to talk about something that I recently exploited, and that is the art of writing. Screenwriting, that is. Ever since I was young, I've always been a storyteller. In primary, if I used to write compositions, they could be the best compositions. So I am not a film student, I'm a communication student. So film is something that I've been learning online, and recently I was learning about screenwriting. So I'm going to talk about the basics of screenwriting for beginners. Screenwriting is something that is not done on the the Microsoft Office Word, but screenwriting has its own writing program, and I know of only two that I'm going to share with you guys. One is the Celtex and the other is the Final Draft. So the writing programs are, I'll say, automated, for lack of a better word, to an extent that if you are a screenwriter and you want to share your script with a producer, just by the look of things, a producer should be able to tell if that is a script that has been written by a professional screenwriter or just an amateur. So I'm going to begin on how to write a script. So the first page of a script is normally has the writer's information, that is the writer's name, the contacts, the email address, the name of the film, the copyright segment, and that is the cover page for the script. Then as you are starting to write a script, there is something called the slug line. The slug line has the description of the place where the film is taking place, the time, and whether it's inside or interior, or inside or outside. So if the play is inside, it's depicted by INT, that means interior. Then there is a full stop. Then you are supposed to indicate whether it's in a house setup, a kitchen, or something like that. Then the time, if it's evening, mid-morning, at night, and something like that. So you have the slug line and the scene description. I'm going to use a script that I wrote recently to serve as an example. So for example, this is a script that I wrote for a teen play. So the slug line, the first slug line was done in an interior setup. So it was INT, that means interior, in a taxi setup, and the time was mid-morning. So under the slug line, we have the scene description. The scene description, in simple terms, just in a nutshell, tries to give us the description of where the film was taking place, the prevailing circumstances, the atmosphere, and stuff. So my scene description, I'll just read it for you so that you can get a practical understanding of what a scene description is all about. City buildings and the busy street scenes goes by a scene through the car window. Clarence, a young schoolboy who looks rather exhausted but happy to come back to his hometown, is seated at the back seat of the car, gazing at the passing urban decay. That one is our scene description. So under the scene description, we have the dialogue. The dialogue now are the wordings, what the characters in the play are talking about. So we are going to use, we are going to name a character. Let's name him Clarence. So under the scene description, we have the dialogue part. So the dialogue should appear in the middle of the page that you're writing. The other should start from the beginning margin to the end margin, but the dialogue should be in the middle, where you write whatever the characters in the play are talking about. These things are automated in the writing program, that is the Celtex or the Final Draft. So what is expected of you is just to issue a command. If you issue a command, then the program will automatically take you to where you are supposed to be. And that if you want to issue a command, you use the Alt, the Alt and the Enter button. Or rather, you can just search manually. We have the slug line, we have the scene description, parentheticals, acts and actions. We have cut to, cut back to, continued. For example, if you want to cut from one scene to the other scene, you're supposed to cut to from the current scene to from the recent scene to the current scene. And if you want to cut back to a recent scene, a current scene to a recent scene, you cut back to. So the other thing that I want to talk about is maybe some of the things that inspires a writer to write a film. So a writer, most of the time writers get their inspirations of writing films from watching other films, reading. A writer should read extensively all manner of literature. So you read, you can develop a storyboard from a recent play that you've watched, you expound more on it. So that's all for today, guys. Join me in our next episode as we get to talk about more about screenwriting.